is good. What you see, what you perceive shapes your identity in life. What you see, what you identify with is just a matter of time before it forms part of you. Evil communications. That is why it is very, very important for us to see what we hear, so that whatever goes inside of us is not coming to pollute, but to become part of us positively. And what God is building in us is a capacity for positive mindset. Permanent positive change is what God desires and requires of us as a demand. We cannot be tracking God in error and expect a perfect lifestyle. Our perfection, though, may be relative, but our perfection should be in perfect instruction that comes from the Lord. Whatever He says, we align to it perfectly without deviation. And the requirement of heaven from us, from us, is that we walk in perfect alignment to whatever instruction and whatever demand He is placing upon our lives. Standards are set by God, not by man. Standards are set by God, not by man. However we try to cascade or bring down the standards of God, we should walk in perfect alignment to that standards. Any man that sets a personalized standard outside the standards of God is already living his life in error. However bitter, however ununderstandable the standards of God are for us, what is required and demanded is obedience. If you have to understand the instruction before you obey, you are already living in error. Instructions are given to be obeyed. The instructor is always above the one carrying out the instructions. If you understand everything God is saying, you have become God. If you have to understand whatever God is saying before you start obeying, you'll be living in error and you'll be living in inaccurate timing of divine purposes. If God releases an instruction and a command that is supposed to be carried out in a day, and you took 3 days to understand it before you begin to obey, God have released another command. If you wait to obey, is a simple expression that you have no capacity to understand the timings of God and to obey God by faith. Obedience to divine instructions must be done by faith. And faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things that are not seen. You don't have to see before you obey, because belief predicates manifestation. For anything to be made manifest, a belief must be activated. There is never a functionality without first an activation. And faith in God is what you need to activate obedience before you see a manifestation. Very, very important. Capacity for obedience is activated by the faith in God that whatever He says, we will do it. God can never mislead anybody. God can never lead anybody into error, because the steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord Himself. God can never misdirect. If you have to obey and follow God, you have to close your eyes and open your spiritual eyes of understanding to track whatever He is given. Evil communication, do not be deceived. What you used to see as accurate and correct and right can be distorted by evil communication. Listen, we have emphasized that here over and over again. Whatever you keep seeing is what you keep believing. Whatever you keep believing is what you become. If you keep listening to the wrong things, you begin to see right things as wrong. God gave us an understanding this morning before we joined the congregation after the minister's prayers. Whatever a leader in the front sees, you have no capacity to see from behind. A leader that explains everything will tire himself to destruction. If every single step taken by somebody in the front must be explained, that person is no longer qualified to be a leader, because there are some